Good evening and welcome to NewsNight. Tonight we will have all your international, national, and local news. I'm Brendan McNamara.
And I'm Brandon Krasowski. Tonight, hear about the latest U.S. politics from the newest Speaker of the House to a new nominee in the Democratic presidential race.
Also, Point Park unveils their new Pioneer Vision 2030 plan. Find out the details and how it could affect you.
All this and more coming up on NewsNight.
After more than a year of objection, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan submitted Sweden's NATO accession to the Turkish parliament last week. However, ratification may not be a done deal, as domestic developments in Turkey and Sweden could still complicate the final step. According to a well-placed Turkish source in Ankara, who spoke to the news outlet Al Monitor on the condition of anonymity, the submission was originally planned for early October, but was postponed after a suicide bombing at Turkey's National Security Directorate by the Kurdistan Workers' Party, or PKK. The attack took place just hours before the start of the new legislative session in Turkey's parliament. Many Turks accuse the United States and European Union countries of supporting the PKK in Syria within the anti-ISIS coalition. Also, U.S. forces shot down a Turkish drone over Syria during large-scale Turkish airstrikes on October 5th, complicating the deal. Turkey has also requested to purchase new F-16 fighter jets to modernize the Turkish Air Force. Even though the request was made before Russia's invasion of Ukraine, the Biden administration has tied the sale of the F-16s to Turkey's ratification of the Swedish bid. Turkey is not the only NATO country holding Sweden back from joining the alliance, with Hungary's parliament voting down Sweden's bid to join NATO on October 24th. Hungary has been delaying Sweden's NATO accession since July of 2022, alleging that Swedish politicians have told, quote, blatant lies, end quote, about the state of Hungarian democracy. These delays have frustrated other NATO allies who were quick to approve of both Finland and Sweden joining after both nations abandoned their long-standing neutrality status. An explosion in a Kazakhstan mine has led to the deaths of over 40 miners, with some still missing. Reporter Kalyan Winder has details in this story. Kalyan?
A blast in the Kazakhstan mine has killed at least 42 people, with 4 miners still missing. The fire was located at the Kostenko mine, owned by the ArcelorMittal in the Karaganda region. The ArcelorMittal Termetal, which is a local unit of ArcelorMittal, is a Luxembourg-based steelmaker. The company stated that 206 of the 252 people were evacuated after the fire, which is speculated to have started by a methane blast. This is not only a deadly incident, as in August this year, 4 miners were killed after a fire, along with 5 miners dying after a methane leak at another location. The company, the same day of the blast, was cleared to nationalize mining operations, but potential investors are now wary after the series of accidents. Kazakh President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev expressed his condolences by deeming October 29th a day of national mourning. ArcelorMittal Temirtau is now, quote, aimed at ensuring that affected employees receive comprehensive care and rehabilitation, as well as close cooperation with government authorities, end quote.
On Friday, October 27th, the United Nations General Assembly approved a ceasefire resolution that called for the, quote, immediate, durable, and sustained humanitarian truce, end quote, in the Israeli-Hamas war. A major of the countries voted for the ceasefire. However, the United States was among the 14 countries that voted against the resolution. According to CNN, Israeli attacks have killed more than 7,000 since October 7th in Gaza. The resolution also calls for the immediate, quote, immediate and unconditional release of all civilians who are being illegally held captive, end quote. Israeli and UN Ambassador Gilad Erlad said that a ceasefire could, quote, give Hamas time to rearm itself, end quote, and did not support this vote for that reason. The vote marks a division among nations, as many are unsure how they should be handling the war. The U.S. House of Representatives introduced a $14.3 billion aid package on Monday, but it is unclear whether this bill will pass or not. This is the first formal response from the United Nations to Hamas' attacks on Israel. 45 countries voted to abstain from the vote on Friday. A ban on same-sex relationships in the South Korean military has been recently upheld by their Supreme Court. Reporter Leslie Krebs has a story. Leslie?
Just recently, South Korea upheld the ban on same-sex relationships while active in the military. This law has been upheld now for the fourth time since 2002, this time barely being upheld in a 5-4 vote of being constitutional and banning anal intercourse or indecent acts during service. The court backed their claim by stating, quote, that it could harm troops' readiness for combat, end quote. South Korea does not outlaw same-sex relationships for civilians, but if a soldier were to be caught, they could face up to 2 years in prison. This recent court upholding has been just another ongoing battle for the LGBTQ+ community, as even though same-sex relations aren't illegal, South Korea doesn't legally recognize same-sex marriage. Activists are continuing their fight in condemning the law and say it only adds to more violence and discrimination against gay soldiers. Though activists say progress has been made recently for LGBTQ+ rights, this law still remains a major battleground.
Thank you, Leslie. The brutal fighting continues in the Israel and Hamas conflict, with the Israeli Defense Forces launching at least 6 airstrikes at the Jabal Yala refugee camp in Gaza, wiping out many apartments in the area. According to CNN, hundreds have been killed in the attacks, many of whom are civilians. The Israeli military claims that it killed the high-ranking Hamas commander Ibrahim Biare, along with other Hamas officials, in an attack that Hamas rejects. The death toll in the war has reached over 8,500 people, and according to the Hamas-run Ministry of Health, 3,450 of those people are children. After the break, hear about the charges against current U.S. Representative George Santos. Also, learn the latest on the recent mass shooting in England, New England. Don't go away. Welcome back. A moderate Minnesota Democrat, Representative Dean Phillips, announced a long-shot primary bid against President Biden on October 27th. Less than 1 year ago, his colleagues in the House elected him as one of the co-chairs of the House Democrats' Policy and Communication Operation. He recently resigned from that post after calling for a primary challenger to run against Biden, arguing that the president, at age 80, is too old for a second term. Phillips is 54. Few Democrats are willing to publicly talk on the record, as Representative Phillips is popular within the House Democratic Conference. In private, however, they cannot make sense of it and suggest that it will be a political dead end for Phillips. The only sitting member of the House to be elected president was James Garfield in 1880. Phillips, who filed his candidacy in New Hampshire last Friday, did not respond to a request for comment from NBC News. Elected in the anti-Trump wave of 2018 that gave Democrats the House majority, he has pushed for civility and bipartisanship in politics. He has also been a loud voice demanding generational change in the party. After 3 failed nominations, the House of Representatives has elected a new speaker. Reporter Kalyan Winder goes in depth about the new speaker and his agenda. Kalyan?
The United States Congress just elected their 56th Speaker of the House of Representatives last week. After a 3-week congressional shutdown and multiple failed candidates, Republican Congressman Mike Johnson takes the mantle. Johnson, age 51, represented Louisiana's 4th congressional district only from 2017. He will start his position on-the-job training with new fame. His website states that the main issues he wishes to address are fixing national debt, funding support for Ukraine and Israel, opposing same-sex marriage, opposing abortion rights, ensuring Christian religious freedom, and supporting congressional involvement in military use. He will start his new position by calling attention to the national debt and will start negotiating with the White House about cuts to help fund the government before funding lapses on November 17th. He states that he wants the citizens and fellow congressmen to, quote, "Give me a chance. Let me have a chance to lead here, and you'll see what I'm really about," end quote.
Thanks, Kalyan. Over the weekend, former Vice President Mike Pence ended his bid at the Republican 2024 presidential nominee. On Saturday, Pence made the announcement at the Republican Jewish Coalition annual conference in Las Vegas. During his campaign, he struggled to obtain funding and barely made polling qualifications to participate in Republican debates. Throughout his campaign, Pence strongly separated himself from former President Donald Trump and expressed his disposition on the actions of the Capitol riots on January 6, 2021. In a statement to CNN in August, Pence said, quote, "What I want is the American people to know that President Trump was wrong then and he's wrong now, and I have no right to overturn the election. I had no right to reject or return votes," end quote. On the campaign trail, this message was often reiterated to his supporters. Several candidates, including Larry Elder, have already dropped out of the race. President Trump remains the frontrunner for the Republican nominee, despite several federal indictments and lawsuits. New York Representative George Santos had pleaded not guilty to charges of fraud during his campaign. Reporter Leslie Krebs has the details.
On Friday, October 27th, New York Representative George Santos pleaded not guilty to fraud charges involving him being accused of stealing people's identities and charges on donors' cards without their knowing. This comes after the previous indictment he faced back in May that involved 13 criminal counts, including 7 counts of wire fraud, 3 counts of money laundering, 2 counts making materially false statements to the House of Representatives, and 1 count of theft of public funds. The judge set a tentative date for the hearing for September 9th, 2024, with the trial expected to last 3 weeks. Meanwhile, Santos is refusing to step down from Congress after attempts from his fellow Republican representatives who tried to expel him from Congress. If Santos is convicted of these charges, he could face a long prison sentence. Meanwhile, he awaits trial with no changes in bail conditions, and the next status conference is to be held December 12th.
The man suspected of killing 18 people and injuring 13 others at a bowling alley and bar in Lewiston, Maine last Wednesday night was found dead from an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound on Friday, ending the 2-day manhunt that forced thousands of residents to remain in their homes. The 40-year-old Robert R. Card was found at a recycling center where he used to work, according to authorities. Also on Friday, officials released the names of the victims, ranging in age from 14 to 76. Card was a sergeant first class in the Army Reserve and was enlisted in 2002 in Saco, Maine. He had no combat deployments and served as a petroleum supply specialist. Little is known about what might have led to the shooting. Investigators were looking into a run-in with Card had with law enforcement during a recent visit to Camp Smith, a National Guard training camp near West Point in New York. Card was evaluated at a mental health facility, and the remaining details of the incident are still undisclosed. Coming up after the break, hear about a new art piece down the road from Point Park's campus. Also, with a new advertising campaign sweeping students' social media feeds, some students are raising ethical concerns about the ads. Get the details when we come back. Stay with us.
everyone, and welcome back.
Welcome back.
Welcome back to
Daybreak.
Chicken Guy opened in PPG Place on Monday.
The bridge would open before the 1 year marks.
To check out the 20th annual gingerbread display.
Share with you this week's ray of sunshine.
We are still somehow hanging around in the playoff.
It gives Georgia Democrats some hold onto the governing body.
200,000 people still in harm's way.
This weather is perfect for those cozy nights indoors.
Welcome back. Since May of 2022, the Three Rivers Waterkeepers, a scientific and legal advocacy group, has been reporting sporadic oil spills on the Monongahela River near McKeesport. The group says these spills originate from mile marker 18 and then flow downriver. Three Rivers Waterkeeper says that there is a U.S. steel plant near mile marker 18 and that they found the oil-like substance in and around the plant discharges. U.S. Steel, however, has denied this accusation, saying that their facilities are operating normally. Several other groups were investigating these spills, including the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection and the Fish and Boat Commission. Both agencies have confirmed that a petroleum substance is leaking into the water from an unknown source, and the investigation is ongoing. The Fish and Boat Commission says that anyone who has contact with these waters should be aware of the oil slicks. The good news is that wildlife does not seem to have been affected yet. Many students participated in the school's new promotional advertisements when they were filmed earlier this year. However, now that they are out, those same students are accusing the school of being unethical. Our reporter Hannah Bazet spoke to those students to find out where the school went wrong. Hannah?
Point Park's new advertisements that were shot earlier this school year have begun to make their rounds to students through various social media platforms. However, a lot of their new promotional work is misrepresenting the students in them.
And I know some people personally that it has happened to, and I know that it affected them in a negative way.
By now, most students have seen the TikToks, Instagram, and YouTube advertisements of their fellow students who are portrayed to be funeral service majors or criminal justice majors, when they aren't those at all. And for students like Jules Brock, who were in these classes when they were filming, she says she had no idea what was happening.
I was there, I was in class whenever they were filming it, and they didn't specifically say, but we all just kind of assumed that they were recording for the class that we were in. So whenever we saw that footage being documented as something else, everybody was like, oh, that was the last thing we expected. It definitely caught us off guard.
Now the question is, was this ethical for the school to do? Should they have had to tell students, just like Jonah Hartman here, that they were going to be misrepresented when they agreed to do these ads? And now that the damage has been done and students are upset, what can the school do to fix it? In this case, Jonah is represented as a sports art and entertainment major when he's actually an acting major. Colleen Winder, who's featured in one of these ads, says if she had known what was going to happen, she would have asked to not be in them at all.
It was embarrassing. They didn't ask me to use the footage. They didn't ask me if I wanted to be in there, what my major was. They just literally just filmed me in a random class. They're allowed to use our face as promo, but at least have the ethical decency to ask us. And if you're not going to ask us, at least get what we do correct.
Colleen also told me that when she addressed her concerns to President Bruce Salas, he dismissed her and backed the ads.
And when asking about the ethical marketing, he didn't give me a clear answer. It was kind of disappointing. He first said he didn't know what the ethical part meant and that our promos are one of the best. And he's not taking any of the concerns for the students.
Every student I spoke to about this told me that they felt what the school did was wrong, and even though it's a little too late to fix things, they all seem to tell me that they feel the school should do better due diligence in the future when planning these sorts of ad campaigns. Reporting for NewsNight, I'm Hannah Bazet.
Thank you, Hannah. For now, it seems there will not be any changes made to those ads, and students are hoping in the future that they will be fairly represented and told about their involvement in these campaigns.
In some other news, the last week, Allegheny County tested out its brand new lights on the Rachel Carson Bridge. The top of the Rachel Carson Bridge was illuminated in blue, with the sides of the bridge lit up in red and white. These permanent lights are being installed on each of the sister bridges that connect downtown to the north side of Pittsburgh. According to the Pittsburgh Union Progress, the default lights will be blue and white, but during different events, such as national holidays or sporting events, the bridges will change colors. Now, you may remember there used to be some lights on the scissors back in 2016, but they were taken down because of the rehabilitation projects on each bridge. This was part of the bicentennial celebration in the city of Pittsburgh. The $6 million project was originally announced in August of 2022. The bridges will be lit up regularly starting on Light Up Night in the city of Pittsburgh. There will be more than 600,000 lights together on these three bridges. Point Park University has unveiled its vision for the next 7 years with many lofty goals in sight. Reporter Kellyanne Winder and Ethan Rawinski have the details of the meeting and student reaction to the plan.
Point Park University just hosted a campus-wide meeting in which President Chris Brusalis, faculty members, and board members went over their Pioneer Vision 2030 plan, in which they aim to improve innovation, inclusivity, and philanthropy in Point Park University. The Pioneer Vision 2030 is a 6-step commitment on the core values of our university. The meeting kicked off with President Chris Brusalis reviewing the university's mission.
Our values are critically important to us. These values influence everything that we do, inclusiveness, integrity, innovation, and excellence.
Each step was presented by a different member of the board. 6 steps themselves include strategic drivers like program excellence, student experience, community engagement, growth, advancement, and capacity.
This idea that if you're 18 years old or you're 40 years old and you're waiting to finish your bachelor's degree, you're waiting for some point in time for you to step somewhere and say, this is where it all comes together. We believe Point Park is that place.
The meeting wrapped up with a Q&A section where Chris Brusalis answered questions ranging from student housing to diversity.
I mostly wanted to ask questions about diversity because that is something that I think is very important, and I think that our students, and most importantly my members, really care about.
Overall, students believe that the meeting was successful at showing off the new plan.
This is an update. This was all an update, and I do think it was effective, actually. That's a better way to put it. Like I said, it was really nice to have an eye-opening and to have some relief as to what's going to be happening in the next few months and the next few years at the university.
From UView Television, this is Kellyanne Winder and Ethan Rawinski, sending it back to the studio.
The new plan is officially made public. If you'd like to see the plan announcement in full, the live stream is archived on Point Park University's YouTube channel. And if you'd like to read each of the steps of the vision, be sure to contact the President's office for a list of the goals.
This past Friday marked 5 years since a gunman entered the Tree of Life Synagogue in Squirrel Hill, killing 11 Jewish worshippers during a Saturday morning service. Killed in the synagogue attack were Rose Mallinger, 97, Bernice Simon, 84, and her husband Sylvan Simon, 86. Brothers David Rosenthal, 54, and Cecil Rosenthal, 59. Dan Stein, 71, Dr. Jerry Rabinowitz, 66, Joyce Feinberg, 75, Melvin Wax, 87, Irving Younger, 69, and Richard Gottfried, 65. They were members of the Tree of Life, Dor HaSash, and New Light congregations, all housed in the same building. The gunman was sentenced to death on August 3rd and found guilty of all 63 federal counts against him. Several events and ceremonies were held to mark the 5 years since the attack, such as an open mic for people to share their gun violence experiences and demand action from state and federal legislators. A memorial service in Shenley Park was held as well. A huge Halloween-inspired event featuring custom mocktails was recently held on campus. NewsNight reporter Cade Montgomery was there to get all the details. Cade?
I'm here at Point Park University outside of the Mocktail Mix-Off special event, which is taking place just in time for the Halloween season. The Mocktail Mix-Off special event was held on Wednesday, October 25th, and was hosted by the Office of Student Activities, Involvement, and Leadership, as well as the Office of Student Conduct.
I think this is a great event. I'm just amazed at the creativity. All the creative drinks and creative names. I think this is awesome.
The event, which took place in the Lawrence Hall lobby, featured a costume contest, trick-or-treating, and the main event, the Mocktail Mix-Off, where various clubs and organizations from Point Park competed to make the best custom mocktail.
I'm representing Pioneer Records. My mocktail is called Witch's Brew. It's my potion. It's gonna make everyone happy. I'm a bartender, and we make amazing mocktails, and this was inspired by one of our drinks called Please Be Quiet, and our Taylor Swift drink, Taylor's version.
The event had a large turnout of club representatives, students, and faculty members. One student shared that they wish all the clubs came together at Point Park at an event like this more often.
This is great. I love this. I think we need all the clubs and spaces like this as much as possible. We need more community on this campus. I feel like it really took a hit during COVID.
Though this event was specifically for Halloween, the SAIL office and the Office of Student Conduct both hope to partner with other organizations again for more fun events throughout the year. The Mocktail Mix-Off is just one of the special events that's hosted by SAIL and other organizations across campus to help make your semester better. Reporting for NewsNight, I'm Cade Montgomery.
Thank you, Cade. Just because the Halloween season is over doesn't mean that the holiday season is. Be sure to keep an eye on Point Sync for the latest events happening around campus.
There's a brand new public art piece on display here in downtown Pittsburgh. The piece, entitled The National Museum, is a storefront located on Liberty and Wood Street. According to the project's website, quote, "The National Museum repeatedly asks which stories, histories, and futures are deemed worth saving and which are ignored or forgotten," end quote. The project was founded by artist and Carnegie Mellon University professor John Rubin. It was the first debut in the St. Louis in 2019. The storefront will feature a new phrase each month, with the reiteration being created by artist Alicia B. Wormsley, and an essay to pair with the names of the museum. Coming up after the break, hear about a license plate redesign in our union, plus updates on what type of weather you should expect in the coming week. We'll be right back.
Regular physical activity is one of the most important things you can do for your health. The benefits of physical activity include brain health, weight management, reducing disease, strengthening your bones and muscles, and improving your ability to do everyday activities. So, it's time to get up and be active.
Oregon is getting a beautiful new license plate within the next year. The state is home to over 600 different species of bees, and you can now embrace the pollinating species in the state of Oregon by having them on your license plate. The plate was designed by a 16-year-old bee lover named Merrick Stanton, who is the youngest member of the Master Melitologist program at Oregon State University. The final product shows a honeybee and a native bumblebee hovering over a field with red clovers and a mountainous blue sky backdrop. The plate will showcase the natural and beautiful landscape of one of America's most northern states and will be available within the next year. The revenue generated from the plate will go to support graduate students at Oregon State University. Oregon, being the national leader in bee research by state, will now get even more unique as cars and trucks will now buzz around the beautiful landscape with a couple of their friends on their plate. After the gloomy weather Pittsburgh has been having in the past couple of days, all of us here are hoping for a brighter week ahead. First-time weather reporter Loger Abdis has the news about what the weather is looking like in the upcoming week. Loger?
Things are finally looking slightly better after the cold and rainy weather Pittsburgh's been having recently. Tomorrow morning will start off fairly cold, staying in the high 20s. However, once we get into the afternoon, the sun will start shining through the clouds, with temperatures nearly reaching 50 degrees before cooling back down as we head into the night. There's a 0% chance of rain tomorrow, so you'll be able to put away your umbrellas for the time being. Though make sure to keep your feet grounded, as wind temperatures are expected to stay around 8 miles per hour throughout the day. Now, let's look at the rest of the week. The trends of a warmer and sunnier day will continue into the weekend, with Friday and Saturday both reaching 59 degrees, with much less cloud coverage than we've seen the past week. Sunday and Monday will both reach temperatures as high as the mid-60s. As we move back into the weekdays, we will see some showers Monday afternoon with a high temperature of 66, and a cloudy day on Tuesday, with temperatures cooling down to 54 degrees. As we head into Wednesday, the temperature will continue to drop to the high 40s as we get deeper and deeper into the holiday season. That's all I have for you this week. Now let's hand it back to the desk.
Thank you everyone for tuning in to this episode of NewsNight. If you want to see more, check out our social media pages on both Facebook and Instagram at UView Television.
You can also check out more episodes on our YouTube channel or website, uview.pointpark.edu. I'm Brandon Kozlowski.
And I'm Brendan McNamara. From everyone here at NewsNight, thank you so much for watching and have a great evening. We'll see you next week.